The dark truth. Real-life horror stories that will haunt you forever. Horror stories have long captivated audiences, but the ones that truly terrify us are those based on real events. When the supernatural collides with reality, the fear becomes tangible, inescapable. The following stories are not the product of mere imagination. They are real-life encounters that defy explanation. Brace yourself as you step into the darkness. The Cursed Doll, the true story of Robert the Doll. In 1904, Key West artist Robert Eugene Otto received a doll from a Bahamian servant. What seemed like a harmless childhood toy soon became the stuff of nightmares. The servant, rumored to practice dark magic, had cursed the doll. Otto named it Robert, and from that moment on, strange occurrences plagued his home. Neighbors reported seeing the doll move from window to window when no one was home. Otto's parents often heard their son talking to Robert late at night, and chillingly, they claimed the doll responded. Objects were found overturned, footsteps echoed in empty rooms, and Otto insisted that Robert was to blame. Even after Otto's death, Robert continued his reign of terror. Today, he resides in the Fort East Martello Museum in Florida. Visitors who mock him report car accidents, illnesses, and unexplainable misfortunes shortly after their visit. The ghosts of the Amityville Horror House. In November 1974, Ronald DeFeo Jr. murdered his parents and 4 siblings in their sleep at 112 Ocean Avenue, Amityville, New York. A year later, the Lutz family moved into the house, unaware of its dark past. Almost immediately, they were tormented by unseen forces. George Lutz woke at 3:15 a.m. every night, the exact time the murders occurred. Strange noises, cold spots, and an unbearable stench filled the house. The family reported waking up to levitating beds and walls oozing with the mysterious green slime. Their young daughter began speaking to an imaginary friend she called Jody, who had glowing red eyes. After just 28 days, the Lutzes fled, leaving everything behind. Their story became the basis for books and movies, yet many still question whether it was a hoax or a genuine haunting. The unexplained death of Elisa Lam. One of the most baffling real-life horror stories is the mysterious death of Elisa Lam. In 2013, the 21-year-old Canadian student checked into the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles, a building notorious for its dark history of suicides, murders, and even ties to serial killers. Lam's last known moments were captured by the hotel's elevator security camera. The footage showed her behaving erratically, pressing multiple buttons, stepping in and out, gesturing as if speaking to someone unseen. Then she vanished. 2 weeks later, her body was found in the hotel's rooftop water tank after guests complained of foul-smelling, discolored water. The rooftop was locked, and the tank was difficult to access, leading to numerous theories. Was she a victim of foul play, a paranormal entity, or a tragic accident? To this day, no one knows. The haunting of the Bell Witch. In the early 1800s, the Bell family of Tennessee was tormented by a relentless spirit known as the Bell Witch. The entity began with knocking sounds, but soon escalated to physical assaults. John Bell, the patriarch, suffered violent attacks, while his daughter Betsy experienced hair-pulling, pinching, and choking sensations. The witch, claiming to be Kate Batts, an old neighbor who had died, spoke in eerie whispers, threatened the family, and predicted John Bell's death. In 1820, Bell succumbed to a mysterious poisoning, and the spirit cackled in triumph. To this day, the Bell Witch Cave, near the original homestead, is considered one of the most haunted places in America. The Dybbuk Box, the cursed wine cabinet. In 2001, an antique dealer named Kevin Manis purchased a wooden wine cabinet at an estate sale. Unbeknownst to him, the box contained a Dybbuk, a malevolent spirit from Jewish folklore. Manis and subsequent owners of the box experienced terrifying nightmares, unexplainable health issues, and disturbing hallucinations. Electronics malfunctioned, pets died under mysterious circumstances, and the box emitted an overpowering stench of ammonia and cat urine. Finally, paranormal investigator Zach Bagans acquired the box and placed it in his haunted museum in Las Vegas. When he opened it, strange occurrences escalated, and even visitors to the museum reported overwhelming dread and bad luck after viewing it. These real-life horror stories prove that sometimes reality is far more terrifying than fiction. Whether you believe in ghosts, curses, or the unknown, these accounts will make you question the world around you. Sleep well if you can. The Haunting of Blackwood Manor, a true horror story that will keep you awake. Deep in the heart of rural England lies the infamous Blackwood Manor, a place that has haunted the minds of many for over a century. This terrifying tale, rooted in real events, has been whispered from generation to generation, sending shivers down the spines of all who dare to listen. Reports of ghostly apparitions, disturbing whispers, and unexplained deaths make this one of the most chilling paranormal cases in history. What follows is the most comprehensive retelling of the Blackwood Manor haunting, documented with eyewitness accounts and historical records. Read on if you dare. The origins of Blackwood Manor. Built in 1865 by Lord Reginald Blackwood, the manor was meant to be a symbol of wealth and prestige. However, from the moment construction began, strange occurrences plagued the estate. Workers reported hearing voices calling their names from empty corridors. Tools went missing or were found in inexplicable places, and the foundation itself seemed to tremble at night. Many believed the land was cursed, but Lord Blackwood dismissed these claims as mere superstition. The tragic Blackwood family. Lord Reginald Blackwood lived in the mansion with his wife, Eleanor, and their 3 children, Edward, Margaret, and the youngest, Annabel. They were the picture of aristocratic perfection until tragedy struck. In 1871, Annabel, just 6 years old, was found drowned in the estate's fountain. Though the official story was an accident, servants whispered about strange laughter echoing in the hallways, and Annabel speaking of an imaginary friend before her death. The darkening presence. After Annabel's death, the once lively manor grew cold and unwelcoming. Eleanor Blackwood fell into despair, claiming she could hear her daughter's voice calling to her in the dead of night. Guests reported sudden chills, objects moving on their own, and a shadowy figure watching them from the corners of rooms. Lord Blackwood, a man of reason, refused to acknowledge these claims until the night Eleanor vanished. On November 2nd, 1873, Eleanor was seen entering the nursery where Annabel once played. When servants went to check on her hours later, she was gone. Her body was never found, but her cries were heard echoing through the halls for weeks after. Lord Blackwood, devastated and terrified, moved out of the house and left it abandoned. The paranormal investigations. Over the decades, Blackwood Manor became a hub for ghost hunters and paranormal researchers. In 1924, famed investigator Thomas Galloway spent 3 nights in the manor. His diary, later discovered in the abandoned house, revealed terrifying encounters. Night 1, heard soft giggling of a child in the hallway. The temperature dropped suddenly. Night 2, woke up to the sound of footsteps. Saw a shadow standing at the foot of the bed. When he turned on the lantern, it was gone. Night 3, the most horrifying night. The walls seemed to pulse, and whispers filled the air. At 3:15 a.m., he wrote his final entry. She is here, watching. I must leave before it's too late. He was never seen again. The modern haunting. In 2007, a group of documentary filmmakers set out to capture evidence of the haunting. What they recorded was beyond terrifying. Their footage, later released as the Blackwood Tapes, included a chair moving across the room on its own, a woman's voice whispering, "Help me," a dark figure appearing in the background of multiple shots, its face resembling Eleanor Blackwood. One of the crew members, David Reynolds, went missing during filming. His body was never recovered, and his last recorded words were chilling. "She's real. She's in the mirror." Blackwood Manor remains one of the most terrifying unsolved hauntings in history. Though many skeptics attempt to explain the occurrences as psychological or environmental factors, those who have experienced the horrors firsthand know the truth. The spirits of the Blackwood family are trapped, their souls forever wandering the cursed halls. If you ever find yourself near the ruins of Blackwood Manor, listen closely. You might hear Annabel's laughter or Eleanor's desperate cries for help. Would you dare step inside? The Cursed Whispers, real-life haunting stories that will keep you awake. Throughout history, there have been countless stories of supernatural encounters that defy logic and shake our understanding of reality. Some of these stories are so chilling and complex that they have been documented, investigated, and passed down through generations. This article explores terrifying real-life hauntings that have left people traumatized, questioning the existence of malevolent spirits. Prepare yourself for eerie accounts that are not for the faint of heart. The haunting of the Smurl family. In the late 1970s, the Smurl family moved into a duplex in West Pittston, Pennsylvania, hoping for a fresh start. What they got instead was a nightmare that lasted more than a decade. It started with minor disturbances, whispers in the night, cold spots, and an unsettling feeling of being watched. But soon, things escalated. The family reported deep scratches appearing on their bodies while they slept, foul odors lingering in the air, and the sight of shadowy figures lurking in the corners. Their dog was constantly terrified, barking at empty spaces. One night, the most horrifying event occurred. A dark entity allegedly lifted Jack Smurl off his bed and threw him against the wall. Desperate for help, the Smurls contacted famous demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren. After conducting an investigation, the Warrens concluded that the house was plagued by a powerful demonic presence. They performed multiple exorcisms, but the torment continued. It wasn't until a Catholic priest intervened with a final exorcism that the disturbances finally ceased. The Smurls moved away, but the trauma never left them. The Enfield poltergeist, one of the most well-documented hauntings, occurred in Enfield, England, in the late 1970s. The Hodgson family, particularly the two young daughters Janet and Margaret, became the center of a terrifying poltergeist activity that caught the attention of paranormal investigators worldwide. Furniture moved on its own, objects flew across the room, and disembodied voices echoed through the house. Janet was even recorded speaking in a deep, guttural voice, claiming to be a deceased former resident. Investigators, including members of the Society for Psychical Research, witnessed levitations, sudden temperature drops, and spontaneous fires. The case became so infamous that it inspired the movie The Conjuring 2. While skeptics argued it was a hoax, many of those involved remained convinced that something truly sinister took place. The Silent Watcher of the Lemp Mansion. The Lemp Mansion in St. Louis, Missouri, is notorious for its dark history and tragic hauntings. Built by the wealthy Lemp family in the 19th century, the mansion saw multiple suicides, financial ruin, and despair. After William Lemp's brewery business collapsed, tragedy struck. William took his own life in the house, followed by his son, and later his daughter. Visitors to the mansion today report hearing unexplained footsteps, seeing apparitions dressed in Victorian clothing, and feeling an oppressive energy in the air. Employees claim that glasses shatter on their own, and that doors open and close without explanation. The mansion now serves as a restaurant and inn, attracting both thrill seekers and paranormal investigators. Many have left terrified, convinced that the spirits of the Lemp family still roam the halls, forever mourning their tragic fate. The Curse of the Bell Witch. One of the most famous paranormal cases in American history is the legend of the Bell Witch, which plagued the Bell family in Tennessee in the early 19th century. John Bell and his family experienced horrifying supernatural events. Unseen hands slapped them, strange animals appeared in their fields, and eerie voices taunted them at night. The entity, which identified itself as Kate Bat's Witch, seemed to have a personal vendetta against John Bell. Over time, John fell mysteriously ill and eventually died. It is said that his death was caused by the vengeful spirit, which took credit for poisoning him. The Bell Witch legend remains one of the most chilling tales in American folklore, and to this day, the land where the Bell farm once stood is rumored to be cursed. These hauntings are more than just ghost stories. They are real-life nightmares that have left an indelible mark on those who live through them. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, these chilling accounts serve as a reminder that sometimes the unknown is best left undisturbed. If you have experienced any paranormal encounters, share your story with us. You never know who else might be living through the same horror.